All right, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Here you go. I'm Brandon Yacu. What I'm going to be telling you guys about today is the Islamic terrorist group ISIS, or ISIL. So I'll start by asking you guys, how would you feel if your hometown was taken over by a group of Muslim extremists who tax the company that your parents grew up and worked hard for to make successful, or if they come into your house and kidnap your mother and sister and hold them at ransom for an absurd amount of money, or else they're going to kill them if you don't pay them. So this is what the ISIS group is doing in the Middle East between Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, and they continue to grow in numbers and wealth. ISIS is taking over oil fields and believed to be making up to $3 million each day from selling that oil on the black market. They have made direct threats to the United States, including the videotaping and beheading of 2 U.S. journalists. And their terrorist attacks have become a global issue, performing acts of violence across cities in the world, claiming thousands of lives in just the past year. I'm going to give you a little bit of background and describe the mission and the motives behind ISIS's acts. They were a group started in 2004 as Al-Qaeda in Iraq, where they then constructed ISIS 2 years later as an ally of Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda disowned ISIS in 2014, and since then ISIS has proved to be even more brutal and more effective at seizing and controlling territories than Al-Qaeda ever was. ISIS believes they are the authority over all Muslims of the world and that all Muslim inhabited regions of the world are under their control. Their goal is to establish a caliphate, which is an area containing an Islamic steward known as a caliph, a person considered to be a religious successor to the Islamic prophet Muhammad and a leader of the entire Muslim community. Equally important, ISIS collects its funds and growth through very unethical practices. ISIS is the richest terrorist group in history, and with a total estimated $2 billion assets in 2015. They raise funds by imposing taxes on citizens from towns they take control over, kidnapping people for ransom, extortion, taking aid from suffering Syrian and Iraqi people, and pillaging, which is the act of robbing a place using their own violence. A report released in 2015 concluded that ISIS was taking in about $80 million per month, with half of that coming from taxing people in areas that had taken over, and about 40% coming from oil sales. It is also noted that ISIS looted $420 million from Mosul's central bank when they captured the city, along with taking gold, jewels, and other valuable items from banks and deposit boxes. Their control over natural gas and oil fields in the Middle East is also bringing in very large revenue to the group. An estimated $2 million per day were being collected from black market oil sales, from oil that was being smuggled out of Syria in water tanks and fire trucks, according to workers that work at these oil refineries that are operated by the ISIS militants. In addition to oil revenue and thievery, ISIS makes millions of dollars in the black market trade for archaeological items, including ancient artifacts. This is because artifacts are hard to track because they're constantly being exchanged, and they are frequently smuggled over the borders. Another source of income that most people are not aware of is the illegal immigration services the Islamic States provide to migrants from Africa. Their refugees will pay thousands of dollars for the opportunity to escape their brutal lives in Africa and go live in Europe. The funds brought in from the extortion and transport fees the militant organizations charge the refugees go straight to funding terrorist activities, including purchasing weapons and enlarging their army. In addition to this, ISIS is performing terrorist attacks across the world that have become a nationwide issue. Amongst one of the most recent attacks in the United States was during June this year at a nightclub in Orlando, where a 29-year-old man pledged his allegiance to ISIS shortly after his massacre that claimed 49 lives and injured 53 people. This past month, there was also a horrid attack in France, where a man drove through a crowd of people watching fireworks and then proceeded to exit the vehicle and open fire. 84 people were killed and over 308 were injured. However, the 2 deadliest attacks during 2016 have both occurred in Iraq, with a combined 415 fatalities and over 325 left injured. The first of these attacks included 4 separate car bombings in the capital of Baghdad that killed at least 90 people and left over 100 injured. The deadliest was the Karada bombing that consisted of a man driving a truck carrying explosives into an area heavily populated with choppers from Ramadan. The explosion caused several buildings to catch fire nearby, and a second roadside bomb was also detonated. This suicide bombing is the deadliest attack on Iraqi civilization since 2003, claiming 325 lives and leaving over 200 injured. All things considered, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria is a radical Muslim extremist group causing terror across the world and making living conditions impossible in the Middle East in an effort to gain control over the entire Muslim population. Their hopes of creating a new nation in which a successor to the Islamic prophet will rule over is seemingly impossible. However, at the rate they are gathering wealth and expanding their armies, the chances of this happening are increasing. Thank you.
Yay!
There you go. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.